being outperforming and outmaneuvering. Being there first, this was the mostest. The early bird gets the worm, the devil takes the hindermost. And I worked hard. I was never a fast buck artist, and I was never a confidence man. I worked hard to get the things I thought I was born without. And ended up at the ripe old age of 43 in the bottom of the snake pit. A failure in every department of life. A failure in every department of life at this ripe old age of 43. And I started on a new tack. It was necessary, because of the condition that I was in, that I do a little rubbing out before death overtook me, which was imminent. I was going to die. And I didn't want to die with a record. So I started out trying to rub out a record. Now, you can't rub out a record thinking, I want, I don't want, I like, I don't like, I. You can't make it. The only way you can rub out a record is by doing something for somebody without a price tag on it. So, that's what I started doing. About 29 years ago right now. And that's all I've done since. And what we're talking about this morning is going to be what's happened to me in my own life. It's what has happened in my own life by performing a certain way. And so, in the last 29 years, everything that I beat my brains out to get and ended up without has come into my life. And so I have to start with this premise, that somehow or another we got to be rid of the ego. We've got to be rid of the conscious separation. And in order to make it right simple, it is impossible to satisfy the human ego. It's absolutely impossible. I believe it's divinely impossible to satisfy the human ego. Because, you see, everything's relative. Everything's relative. Now, suppose my obsession had been for liquor. Suppose I had been a drunk, an alcoholic. In that case, there is not enough liquor on the face of the earth to satisfy the obsession to drink. It's impossible to satisfy an obsession to drink. Because if you be an alcoholic, the more you drink, the more you have to drink. And the time comes when you drink the clock around. And every time you open your eyes, you drink. And it's impossible to satisfy an obsession to drink. Suppose my obsession had been for money. It's impossible to satisfy an obsession for money. I had a client for years in Phoenix, Syrian, who'd gone from one head of cabbage to $35 million. Self-made man. And that's pretty good money, I think. And he was one of the poorest men I ever saw in my life. Because it so happened that he had a partner in one of his business endeavors who had $150 million. He was in the oil business, and this guy had $150 million. And every time the three of us were sitting together in the Jonathan Club, Eddie wanted to crawl under the Davenport. Here he was with a lousy $35 million, and his partner had $150 million. He was a pauper. And he used to say to me, Charlie, how can I be like you? And I'd say, you can't, Eddie. And he'd say, why? And I'd say, who needs God when he has $35 million? You can buy everything you want, including women. And you do. So, go ahead and make yourself 150 million. And you will if you live long enough. But you'll find out by that time that it won't do what you have to have done right here. And then you can ask me, Charlie, how can I be like you? And I'll tell you. And you can do it. But until then, there's no use talking about it. And he'd say, well, we're going to talk about it anyway. And we'd ride all over the state of Arizona, yakking about what we're going to be talking about this morning. Eddie, however, didn't make his 150 million because he got so many things in his head that it exploded, and we had to bury him. But that's just a little illustration to show that it's impossible to satisfy an obsession for money. Suppose my obsession had been for power, and suppose I'd been elected president of the United States instead of some of the rest of these monkeys that have gotten there. I'm old enough, you know, that isn't an objection. Would that have satisfied my obsession for power? No. Because every dictator in the world has more power than our president. Now, suppose my obsession's been for women, as if it weren't.
Thanks, Chuck.